I always thought my son's first birthday would be one of the happiest days of my life. A milestone, a fresh start for my growing family. But as I stood in our beautifully decorated backyard, holding my baby boy in my arms, I felt something I hadn't in years. Pure rage. Lisa, my older sister, had just grabbed the DJ's microphone, her eyes glittering with satisfaction. "I have an announcement to make," she said, placing a delicate hand on her stomach. She paused dramatically, soaking up the anticipation before declaring, "I'm pregnant!" The crowd gasped. Applause erupted. My mother rushed forward to hug her. I stood frozen. James, my husband, leaned in. "Stay calm," he murmured, sensing the storm brewing inside me. But I couldn't, because this wasn't just some innocent pregnancy. Announcement. Lisa had done this before, stolen my moments, hijacked my joy, my engagement party, my wedding, my birthdays, and now she had come for my son's special day. I thought this was the worst thing she could do. I was so wrong. Because what I uncovered next, it destroyed everything. Lisa was never just a difficult sister. She was a predator. Growing up in suburban Pennsylvania, I was the youngest of 3 daughters. Lisa, the eldest, was the golden child, our parents' pride and joy. Rachel, the middle sister, was my only ally. But Lisa, she was my first bully. When I was 5, I had a princess-themed birthday party. I wore my favorite pink dress, my tiny hands clasped together in excitement as my parents brought out a beautifully frosted cake. Then, just as I was about to blow out the candles, Lisa shoved me hard. I fell face first into the cake. Laughter exploded around me. My dress was ruined, my tiny heart crushed. Lisa stood there, smirking. "Oops," she said. That was Lisa in a nutshell. Cruelty disguised as an accident. And the worst part? Our parents brushed it off. "Sisters fight," my mom said, dabbing, frosting off my cheek. Rachel, who was only 2 years older than me, was the only one who comforted me. "It wasn't an accident," she whispered, helping me change out of my ruined dress. Lisa didn't stop there. By middle school, her tactics had evolved. She spread rumors, whispered lies. When I developed my first crush at 13, she told him I still wet the bed. It wasn't true, but it didn't matter. For months, I was the school joke. Rachel tried to defend me, but Lisa had a gift. She knew how to manipulate people. My parents never saw the cruelty. To them, Lisa was just being a protective older sister. But I knew better. By high school, I learned to stay out of her way. I threw myself into academics and technology, discovering a love for coding. While Lisa was dating quarterbacks and ruling the cheer squad, I was building websites and earning my first freelance paycheck. I thought if I just worked hard enough, I could escape her shadow. I was so naive. After college, my life started to take off. I graduated with honors from Penn State, landed a high-paying job in IT consulting, and started traveling across the country for projects. Lisa, meanwhile, married her high school boyfriend, Greg, and settled into the same suburban life our parents had dreamed for us. On the outside, she had everything. A big house, a husband with a good job, 2 kids. But inside, she was miserable. And nothing made her more miserable than my success. Every time I got a promotion, she made passive-aggressive comments about how I was too busy for family. When I got engaged to James, she pretended to be happy for me. I should have known better. Because 3 months before my wedding, Lisa did something unforgivable. I had saved for months to buy my dream wedding dress, a delicate, vintage-inspired A-line gown. It wasn't the most expensive dress in the world, but to me, it represented everything I had worked for. Lisa offered to check on the alterations at our Aunt Mary's house. I thought nothing of it. That night, Aunt Mary called me sobbing. Lisa had accidentally let her 2 giant dogs into the sewing room. They tore my dress to shreds. When I confronted Lisa, she didn't even deny it. You've always had it. So easy, she spat. I had to wear something off the rack for my wedding. You don't deserve a custom gown. I was speechless. My parents begged me to forgive and forget. I didn't. I cut her out. For years, I ignored her existence, focused on my career, got married, and started my own family, until my mother begged me to give Lisa another chance. She's changed, she insisted. You're both mothers now. Family should stick together. I believed her. It was the biggest mistake of my life, for months. Lisa played the perfect sister. She sent gifts for my son, offered to babysit, acted like she actually cared. I let my guard down. Then came my son's first birthday and her fake pregnancy announcement. I thought she was just stealing, attention again, but Rachel sensed something was off. She's lying, Rachel whispered to me later that night. Something doesn't add up. We started digging. What we found shattered everything. Lisa wasn't just faking a pregnancy, she was stealing from our family business. Over the years, she had embezzled over $500,000, creating fake vendor accounts, funneling money into secret bank accounts, and her pregnancy, a distraction. She planned to fake a miscarriage later, milking the sympathy while hiding her financial crimes. When we confronted her, she denied everything. Then Greg, her husband, spoke up. She's lying, he whispered. His face was pale. She's been lying about everything. Lisa always thought she was untouchable. For decades, she got away with everything. Bullying, manipulation, even destroying my wedding dress without ever facing consequences. But this time, she had pushed too far. This time, she had stolen. This time, she had left evidence. The night after my son's birthday disaster, Rachel and I sat at my kitchen table, poring over financial records from our father's business. Rachel, a high school teacher, wasn't an expert in finance, but she had a gut feeling something was off, and she was right. As an IT consultant specializing in cybersecurity and financial systems, I knew exactly where to look. Within hours, I found dozens of discrepancies. Money that had supposedly gone to vendors, but had actually been funneled into personal accounts. Lisa had been stealing from our father's company for years. By the time I was done digging, the total amount stolen was over $500,000. And here's the worst part. Some of that money had come from the family's charity foundation, a non-profit that helped underprivileged kids get scholarships. Lisa hadn't just taken from us. She had taken from children. I stared at the numbers, my hands shaking. She's not just a liar, I whispered. She's a criminal. Rachel leaned back, her face pale. What do we do? There was only one thing to do. We had to expose her. 2 days later, my father called for a mandatory family meeting. Everyone was there, our parents, extended family, even some of the board members from our father's company. Lisa walked in, smiling like she owned the place. She didn't know what was coming. I stood up, took a deep breath, and projected the financial records onto the big screen. For the first 10 minutes, my father spoke calmly, walking through the transactions one by one. At first, Lisa looked bored, twirling a strand of hair around her finger. But as the numbers added up, her face turned ashen. Lisa, my father finally said, his voice dangerously quiet. Explain this. Lisa let out a breathless laugh. Dad, are you serious? It's obviously a mistake. I stepped forward, holding up printed copies of her transactions. Then explain why these mistakes all lead to your secret bank accounts. Silence. Rachel stood, crossing her arms. And why did Greg tell us you had several private accounts he didn't even know about? Lisa's head snapped toward her husband. Greg, who had sat quietly the entire time, now looked up. His face was stone. It's true, he said. Lisa's mouth opened, closed. For the first time in her life, she had nothing to say. And then my father dropped. The final bombshell. I'm pressing charges. Lisa's eyes went wild. "You can't do that!" she shrieked. "I'm your daughter!" My father's jaw tightened. "And you stole from your family!" Lisa turned to our mother, her last hope. "Mom, please," she whispered. "Tell him not to do this." For the first time ever, my mother didn't defend her. Instead, she started crying, and just like that, Lisa knew she had lost. Lisa ran, not out of the house, but out of excuses. She spent the next few weeks trying to manipulate her way out, blaming accounting errors, claiming she had borrowed the money, even faking another pregnancy to gain sympathy. But no one believed her anymore. When the police finally showed up at her doorstep, she collapsed into hysterics. "You can't do this to me," she screamed as the officers cuffed her wrists. "I'm family!" But family doesn't steal, family doesn't destroy, and family doesn't fake pregnancies to cover up crimes. Lisa was charged with embezzlement, fraud, and financial misconduct. Greg filed for divorce and got full custody of their kids. My father, realizing the damage Lisa had done, named me the next CEO of the family business. Lisa's biggest dream, owning the company, controlling everything, having the last laugh, was dead instead. The sister she had spent her entire life trying to destroy was now in charge. Her entire world crumbled overnight. She lost her house, her money, her status. And me? I thrived. Lisa's name became a cautionary tale in our social circles. No one, not even my mother, defended her anymore. And the best part? We took every dollar she stole and put it into a college fund for my son. Lisa had spent her life trying to tear me down. In the end, she had built my son's future instead. Lisa was sentenced to 8 years in prison. At her trial, she tried one last trick. She wrote a dramatic letter, claiming she was the real victim of a family conspiracy. The judge laughed. "The evidence clearly demonstrates a pattern of deliberate dishonesty," he said. "Even now, you refuse to take responsibility." Lisa's face turned red as the judge banged the gavel. And just like that, it was over. For the first time in my life, I felt free. My family, once broken by her manipulation, was finally healing. Rachel and I were closer than ever. My mother, after months of therapy, apologized for enabling Lisa for so long. And my son, he would never know the pain of growing up in Lisa's shadow, because the cycle of jealousy, cruelty, and betrayal ended with me. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.